to a new study that was published just 4 days ago, researchers have now confirmed that the COVID-19 vaccines are linked to changes in a woman's menstrual cycle. Specifically, this was a study conducted by researchers over at the Oregon Health and Science University, and it was published in the Obstetrics and Gynecology Journal last Friday. The title of this paper was this, quote, "Timing of COVID-19 vaccination and effects on menstrual cycle changes." And the top line findings from these researchers was that women who received a COVID shot in the first half of their menstrual cycle were more likely to experience changes to their menstrual cycle rather than women who received it in the second half. Or, as these researchers very succinctly wrote, quote, "COVID-19 vaccine-related cycle length increases are associated with receipt of vaccination in the first half of the menstrual cycle, the follicular phase." Now, the way that these researchers went about conducting their study is that they used the data from nearly 20,000 women who used a certain birth control smartphone app, which is actually approved by the FDA. This particular app is called Natural Cycles, and it basically functions as a natural form of birth control. The app uses various inputs to analyze a woman's menstrual cycle, and then it lets her know the window of time when she can or cannot get pregnant. And so the researchers, they found nearly 20,000 women who used this app, and they identified when in their menstrual cycle they received the COVID-19 vaccine. In total, the researchers separated 3 different groups. You had women who received the vaccine during the follicular phase, which is the first half of the cycle, those who received the vaccine during the luteal phase, which is the second half, and then a control group who did not receive the vaccine at all. And also, just for your general reference, in terms of demographics, here's how these 20,000 women broke down. About 80% of the women were younger than 35, 28% were from North America, 33% were from continental Europe, and 31% were from the UK. And in terms of the vaccine type, 64% of the women received an mRNA-based vaccine, such as the Pfizer or the Moderna shot. And also, just as a fun fact, you know that this was a study published in the year 2024 because throughout the whole thing, the word woman is never used once. They only refer to individuals who menstruate. You can make of that what you will. Regardless, getting into the actual results here, researchers used these women's data to see what their menstrual cycles looked like before the vaccine, when in their cycle they wound up taking the vaccine, and then subsequently what their cycles look like after the vaccine. And here's what they found. Quote, "Individuals vaccinated in the follicular phase during the first half of their cycle experienced an average 1 day longer adjusted cycle length with a first or second dose of COVID-19 vaccine compared with their pre-vaccination average. Those who got the vaccine in the second half, or those who were not vaccinated, experienced no changes. There is now a body of evidence demonstrating that the vaccine is associated with temporary menstrual cycle disturbances at the population level. The underlying mechanism for a vaccine-related cycle length disturbance is still under investigation." It's always kind of wild to read statements like this, that you can release a drug, have billions of people across the world take it, it unexpectedly affects the menstrual cycles of women at a population level, and yet no one knows why. Although the researchers here did posit a hypothesis. Quote, "The leading hypothesis is that these disturbances are due to the immune response that vaccines are designed to produce. The immune and reproductive systems interact closely with one another. Cytokines, which are small proteins that control the immune system's activity and are produced as an early event in the vaccine response, can impact that process." That hypothesis certainly sounds reassuring, like there is nothing to worry about. Regardless, these researchers, they further noted that whether it's the COVID vaccine or any other vaccine, very little research has actually been done in the past on how they could influence the menstrual cycle, with research like this paper right here being essentially a pioneer in this particular field.